Okay, speaking about talents, there's a lot of things that we can play. On the first row, we want to play almost every time Feli Swiftness, unless there's some AoE mechanic or frontal ability or targeted spell that we must dodge. In that case, we play Displacer Beast. Displacer Beast is way stronger than Wild Charge. Wild Charge is not as good as Displacer Beast. It has some uses in some specific bosses, but it's not that good compared to Blink. On the second row, we want to play Isira's Gift most of the time, unless there's some fight which there's a constant AoE damage pulsing, or that we can play Renewal to help our healers, because have a small personal in some fights can be very strong. On the third row, we can play Mass Tangle, Typhoon, depending on what strat we need, or if you play 10 men and you don't have a Thunder Armor, or you need a slow, you can play Fairy Swarm. Fourth row, unless they buff Force of Nature, you want to play Incarnation all the time. Fifth row, you can play either Vortex, Mighty Bash, or Disheartening Roar, depend of if you need crowd control, stuns, or AoE silence. And on the sixth row, you can play Dream of Scenarios, which is your stronger talent by far, but it needs you to play the class way better and be way more focused. You can play Nature's Vigil, which is very good, and it's brain dead. Like, you just press it on cooldown every time. Like, first time with Incarnation, second time on cooldown, third time with Incarnation. It's literally brain dead, and it gives you very good results. But the difference between these two is already noticeable, and when we get more gear, the difference will get stronger and stronger. And Health of the Wild is very strong. It allows you to do some chasey strats, to solo tank or solo heal some stuff, because you can adapt to one specific role, to any role at any point, for one whole minute, well, 45 seconds. So it's very good. So overall, in 10 man, this talent you can do a lot of stuff. Like, you can cheese a lot of strats, or you can run it to make boss save us to help out healers, or if a tank dies, you can do a lot of stuff. And about glyphs, if you play Dream of Scenarios, you want to run Healing Touch, you want to run Stampede, and the other talent, the other glyph you can run, there are 3 choices. I like running Guided Stars on bosses that have amp damage, for example, on the 4th boss of Heart of Fear on Meljarak, where it has a 600% damage buff. You run this glyph because you dot the boss, and your Starfall only hits the boss who has a damage increase. So your Starfall does more damage, because it doesn't hit targets that doesn't have the damage jump. And the other glyphs that you can run is Rebirth, which is very good in some fights. And the other glyph is a Stampeding Roar, in some fights that everything must be dodged. For example, in the first fight of Tears of the Endless Spring, you can run this to be useful for the melee and the tanks, to help them dodge the AoE from the last boss. If we talk about stats, there's a few things that we must understand. Okay, first of all, you're a mage class, so spell power intellect is your way to go. Then you want your hit cap. Hit cap is 15%. Remember that you get hit from spirit and expertise as well. Then your desired stat is spell haste until you get your haste breakpoint. I believe your haste breakpoint, it was 22, 24%, something like that. I'm not so sure right now. I recommend you going to the Wowhead guide. There's a lot of information there. Almost every single question that you have is answered on that guide. So feel free to go there and check it out, okay? After getting your haste breakpoint, you want to get as much crit as possible, because it gives you way more damage from your abilities and it allows you to get Star Surge resets. And then you want to get even more haste, and then Mastery. Mastery is your last desired stat this expansion. So yeah, in order that will be the trio of stats: haste, crit, more haste, mastery. Okay, don't lose your haste breakpoint. That's the key point. Okay, speaking about the class itself, we must understand that Boomy is not a very good AoE class, but is good at single target and amazing at multi-target fights. Is your best scenario. The thing is that for every target that is around you, you generate resources to have more damage and to move from eclipse to an eclipse way faster, so you have less downtime of being outside of an eclipse. That is when you do negative damage. So the more targets there are, like 2 or 3 targets, you generate a lot of resources and you just perma spam star surges. So dots aren't your main damage ability anymore. The thing is, dots generate damage because they give you star surge procs. That's what you should understand about this class. Okay, talking about the rotation, you want to precast Astral Communion until you're 1 cast away from Lunar Eclipse. Then you place 3 mushrooms where the boss is gonna be tanked. And 5 seconds before pulling, you press Healing Touch, you press the Staffel, and you press Wrath, and you press Incarn. You dot your target and Star Surge, Healing Touch, and once your Staffel runs out, you press it again, and you Starfire until you are at 0 energy. You press Celestial Alignment, dot, detonate your mushrooms, use the Star Surge procs. If your Starfall did run out, you press it again, and you keep pressing Starfire, and before running out of Celestial Alignment, you redot. Now you Healing Touch, and keep doing your rotation. Okay? You don't overlap these dots because these dots are empowered with Celestial Alignment. You reapply them now, and Star Switch. You press Healing Touch, and you keep doing your normal rotation. Okay. Now there's 2 things that you must understand. For example, this is a scenario. You hit Lunar Eclipse. There's 3 periods that we must understand. If we got Star Switch proc, we use the Star Switch proc. We reapply our dots. Then if we have no Star Switch, we press the Star Switch, and we press the Starfall. If all these things are on cooldown, we press Healing Touch now. Okay? And for example now, if I'm about to leave an eclipse and my dots are 5 seconds or less from remaining duration, I reapply my dots and then I leave an eclipse. Okay? Remember, you always press the Star Switch on cooldown unless you're 1 cast away from hitting an eclipse. And I repeat, I redot, I press Healing Touch. The most important thing is that you press Healing Touch with this buff, Nanter Grace, which gives you a 15% haste. It makes your Healing Touch be way faster, so you have less downtime of not doing damage. And it's repeat this little rotation all the time. Okay, talking about macros and weak auras, I recommend using a macro with Incarnation and Nether's Visual if you play Nether's Visual. And if you have any unused trinkets, you can type /use13 /use14, but those 2 only use them if the unused trinket, the proc lasts 25 seconds or more. If it lasts 20 seconds or less, you should macro them with your Celestial Alignment. Speaking of which, you should macro your celestial alignment with your engineering gloves or your short duration on your cooldown and your berserking. And you should macro as well cursor with vortex, so you don't have to press a lot of buttons. You just place your cursor where you want to be and you press vortex and it appears there. And the last thing I would recommend is having healing touch and another shift of macro. So for example, on my 6th button, I just press it and I instantly press my healing touch. That allows you to be faster. Okay, I think that would be all. About the weak cores and stuff, you can go on wago.io and download any weak cores that you like. Or if you like any of this UI, I will link it down there so you can get it. You can get the whole pack, even the LGUI, Plata, and this thing right here.